Welcome to Vintage Variety. Today's content's going to be on Monet Jewelry. When I first started on YouTube, I did an earlier video on Monet Jewelry. I'm doing this one because part of the sound is missing on the old video. This content is dedicated to one of my subscribers, Sherry by Grace. I'm going to start by talking a little about the book on Monet Jewelry, along with the company and some of its background history. The title of this book is Monet, the Master Jeweler. This book is by Alice Vega. If you don't already own the book, I highly recommend it. It has a lot of information about the pieces of jewelry, the company's history, and it also has a lot of photographs. The Monet Jewelry Company, also known as Monograft, was started by two brothers, Michael and Joseph Chernow. Michael and Joseph came from a family of Russian immigrants that immigrated to America in 1884. They started Monograft in the 1920s. The brothers started out by making monograms, which were very popular in the 1920s on into the 1930s. Gentlemen would actually have their monogram painted onto the side of their cars. The brothers came up with an easier way to do this by creating decals, and later on, those decals became little metal plates that could be attached to just about anything. Essentially, this turned into making brooches and pins, and it eventually led the brothers into making jewelry. When the company started out, it was known as Monograft rather than Monet. So any really old brooches or pins are going to be stamped Monograft, and this is one of them. This is a beautiful little initial pin. It has the initials DMS, and when we turn it over, you can see the Monograft stamped into the back of it, along with the patent pending. This is an old ad that is in the Monet book showing some of these little brooches. It talks about how they can be worn on the neckline, a hat, or even a belt. I also wanted to show these handbags as an example. You can see that they all have the Monograft monograms on them. Monograft didn't just make jewelry, they made a lot of different items, but because this content is about jewelry, that is what we're going to be talking about today. Monet was actually launched in 1937, and one big misconception is that people think that the name Monograft was changed to Monet, but that's not exactly true. Monograft was the parent company of Monet Jewelry, and Monograft continued making initials on a wide scale until 1959. Monograft never really ceased to exist, at least that is what the book says. It also states that as late as 1977, anyone calling the company would hear the receptionist answer, Monet Monograft. Sadly, Joseph Chernow passed away in 1966. Although Michael sold the company to General Mills in 1968, he remained active in the company until his death in 1978. Monet was purchased from General Mills by the Liz Claiborne Company in 2000. This is an advertisement in the book for a beautiful pen. This advertisement is from 1938. This one isn't a pen. This is a fur clip or a dress clip, whichever one you want to refer to it as. There is the marking on the back of this one. There is no copyright mark. It just simply says Monet in capital letters. Early pieces of Monet jewelry will not have a copyright stamp on them. This piece is located on page 200 in the Monet Jewelry book. This is an adjustable collar. It describes it in the book as having a lace pattern. The book actually lists it as being from 1965. Here is a picture of the one in the book, and this is my piece. My piece also has an extra link in it so it can be adjusted. Here's the marking on the back of this. It is Monet in all capital letters, and you can see it has the copyright mark on it. I'm not going to go into identifying pieces by the way they are marked. They did a lot of repeats with the marks that they used. I always suggest, if you love Monet jewelry and you collect it, that you simply purchase the book. There are a lot of websites online where you can do research to determine when your piece was made. These are some necklaces from the 1970s, and these are lariat style necklaces. They made these in a lot of different styles. The one that you see laying here is one from my personal collection, and I wanted to show it because even though it's not identical, you can tell that it looks a little bit like the one you see in the center here. Here I've doubled it up on the form. There's a lot of different ways that you can wear these lariat style necklaces. To me, they never really go out of style. This beautiful lariat necklace also has matching earrings. This is the hang tag on this piece. These lariat style necklaces will usually have a little tag hanging on them. Sometimes it's not that easy to identify if it's a Monet or not, because sometimes these tags do get broken off or lost over time. Monet did many different types of necklaces, including the chain, fringe, and even some coin style necklaces. Here are a couple of coin bracelets. Neither of these bracelets have a tag on them indicating who the maker was. I believe that this bracelet that you see here could possibly have been made by Monet, but I'm not going to say it is because I'm really not sure. I just wanted to show these as an example. See here in the book an example of one of Monet's coin bracelets. This is another necklace that I wanted to show today. And I don't think this one's in the book, but is it not absolutely gorgeous? A lot of their jewelry had these little dangling chains, or they had tassels that were made out of chain. I really like the design of this one. And I'm going to show you the marking on this. It has a capital M with lowercase letters. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that this necklace was from the 1990s. Many of you, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you're probably familiar with some of the pieces that I'm going to show today, or you may even have a few in your own personal collection or just laying around in your jewelry box. This is an ad showing what was known as the Bow Dior collection. The pieces, if you've seen them, you'll recognize them instantly. They look like they're made up of filigree beads. This was such a popular collection that they made these pieces from the 1960s on into the 1970s, and some of the later pieces were done in white enameling. This old black and white ad doesn't really do this piece justice, but fortunately I have one in my collection that I can show you. Look how beautiful these little filigree beads are. They also have gold spacers in between each bead. This is the beautiful clasp on the back of the necklace. Here is the Monet mark stamped onto the back of it. Monet also did a line of jewelry that was done with white enameling. During the 1970s, they kind of expanded on this, and a lot of the pieces were pieces that they had released earlier on in gold tone or silver tone. They remade these pieces with white enameling, and I think that's kind of neat. I don't own a lot of the enameled pieces, but one piece that I do own is this cute little angelfish, and it hasn't been that long ago that I found this when I went antiquing, and I did content on that. I'll put it in a link in the description box below in case you guys didn't get to see it. As soon as I noticed this, I knew it was a book piece. I remembered seeing it in the book. This piece is from 1974. That's another good reason to own the book if you can, because once you look through the book several times, you kind of get a feel for what the pieces look like, and that makes it easier for you to spot those pieces when you're out thrifting. Since I was talking about the enameled pieces, I also wanted to show these pieces. These pieces were done in 1961, and the wire and butterfly pins were so successful, they were available in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. By the 1970s, they were also making them like the one that you see here in the white enamel. In the 80s, they also made other variations of the butterfly pin. This one from my collection has tiny rhinestones set into it, and I believe that this may be a variation from that time. And this one is a B. The one in the book is done in a silver tone, and mine's done in a gold tone. I did not see one pictured in the book, but they also did a dragonfly pin. Here are some more pins in the book. They didn't just do insects. These are called spinneret pins. They were also very popular in the 60s, and some of the pieces that were the most popular were recreated in the 1970s. Monet did a lot of figural jewelry. This is a piece in the book, and I actually own this piece. This is a cute little cat brooch. This brooch is from 1966. I've laid my brooch beside it so you can see the comparison. This is the 1954 spring ad book for Monet, the master jewelers. And I'm going to zoom in on this. If you see this little bracelet here, I own one that's quite similar to it. The actual chain part of the bracelet is a little bit different. I'm going to show that to you guys. This is the bracelet that I own that is quite similar to that one. And you'll notice with some of Monet's jewelry that they did repeat the items. I think this is probably the case with this beautiful little bracelet. I'm going to hold it up next to the picture of the book so you can see what I'm talking about. The one that you see in the book, this one has a single chain with a little medallion hanging off of it, whereas mine has a double chain. I actually got this bracelet in a jewelry bag. There's the marking on the back, Monet in all capital letters with the copyright mark. They also did a necklace. This is called Lancaster, and this is a picture of the necklace in an old ad that's in the book on page 150. Here are a couple of brooches that I wanted to show you. These two are from my personal collection, and I wanted to show them together because they are quite similar in the design. Here's the book piece. These pins were from the 1960s on into the 1970s. I've also seen earrings that match this pin. And there is the marking on the back of this one, the larger one. And this is the marking on the smaller one. And you can see that this marking is a little bit different. This is actually a necklace. And I don't think it's the exact same piece that is in the book, but it does look rather like it. This is one of my favorite necklaces because I absolutely love the texture and the design. There is the Monet marking on the back of the necklace, and there's the marking on the back of the clasp. With so many beautiful pieces of jewelry, it's really hard when it comes to Monet jewelry to pick a favorite out of all of the pieces. This is a very delicate necklace on a very fine chain. It has a leaf pattern design. There's the marking on the back of this necklace. Another Monet necklace from my collection, and again, this is not a book piece, but I'm using it to show because to me it looks a lot like this piece. There is the marking on the back of the pendant, marking on the back of the clasp for the chain. This beautiful necklace is another piece from my collection. You'll notice how it looks relatively new. That's one of the great things about the pieces of Monet jewelry. Part of that is the special craftsmanship along with the alloys that they used to make the metals for their jewelry. A lot of the pieces of jewelry do contain gold. They also made pieces that were gold plated and done in sterling. They kept their designs very classic, and that's why these pieces never really go out of style. Here's the hang tag on the back of this necklace, and you'll notice that it has a little pine cone that dangles off the end. I did talk about using these little pieces that hang off the end of some of these older necklaces as identifiers. Monet used several different ones, as did Coro and quite a few other companies. I'll post a link to the Coro video in the description box below in case you haven't seen it. This is another piece that I wanted to show, and in my first video that I did on Monet, I referred to this as being a book piece, but now that I'm looking closer at it, it really doesn't look identical to the drawing of the one in the book. I think that the petals on the flower are different, although the center is the same. So guys, this is not a book piece, even though I mistakenly thought it was. It's still a very beautiful pen. And one thing that I like to do with this pen is I like to put it on a chain, even though it doesn't have a bell. I usually just close up the pen and run a chain through it. And I love to wear this piece as a necklace. I mentioned earlier the simplicity of the design in many of their pieces, and this necklace is another example. Quite beautiful, but so simple that it never really goes out of style. There's the hang tag on the back of this piece. This necklace has a shepherd's hook clasp, and it also has a piece that dangles off the end. During the 1980s, the company did a lot of pieces that were in black, white, cream, and red. They were highly popular. In fact, red was a very popular color in the 1980s. Pieces that you see here in the book are from the haberdashery collection, and I own a few pieces that I could show you as an example. Here are two examples from my collection. The smaller necklace is done in red and white, and then the longer necklace is done in red with these beautiful gold bead spacers. Here are two more beautiful examples. Again, the long necklace is white with gold spacers. The smaller necklace is simply done in red. This beautiful necklace that you see here done in black actually belonged to my mother-in-law. Then I have this lovely little set. This is a gold tone bracelet and earrings with red enameling. This is another example of the enameling. This necklace is done in a gold tone with black enameling. I also have this beautiful pin that matches it. I didn't buy both of these pieces at the same time. I already owned one piece and then I ran across the other one. Here are two more lovely little pieces of jewelry that also belong to my mother-in-law, and I believe that these were most likely from the late 80s or the early 90s. Like many jewelry companies, Monet also did a line of faux pearls. The cheaper pearls were done out of lucite. They also had pearls that were done in glass and were a little bit more expensive. Their pearls were produced in Japan, a company that had been in the pearl business for many years. This company had a reputation for strict quality and superior workmanship. This is a strand of Monet pearls from my personal collection, and I wanted to give you guys a really close-up look. You can see that they are individually knotted between each pearl. Often when I wear these pearls, people mistake them for being real pearls because they are so well done. This is the clasp on this beautiful little pearl necklace, and there's the Monet marking. This is a lovely pair of faux pearl earrings. They do have a little bit of damage on them, but they're in pretty good condition considering that they came out of a jewelry bag. And these beautiful little earrings are clip-ons. This pin is one of my favorite Monet pieces. It's quite large. I just simply like the design of it. It reminds me of the ocean. It has a flow like some kind of plant that would grow under the ocean, or maybe even ocean waves. I'm going to show you the back of it, and I'm holding it in my hand. You can see that this is a very large pin. I like to wear the pin by itself, but I also like attaching it to a chain and wearing it as a pendant. I don't own a lot of silver pieces in my collection. Monet did make silver jewelry. They made jewelry that was set in sterling. They made silver plated jewelry and silver toned jewelry. This adorable little butterfly pin has enameling, and the center stone looks almost like sapphirette. And there's a closer look at it. It needs to be polished up just a bit. There's the Monet marking on the back. This is definitely one of my favorites. It has this beautiful black stone in the center, surrounded by marcasites and clear rhinestones. And there's the marking on the back of this piece. This is another silver tone Monet brooch, and I think this is absolutely gorgeous with the lovely shades of blue. The large blue cabochons that you see in this pin are done in glass. And there's the marking on the back of this piece. There are quite a few pieces in the book that are very similar to this necklace. This piece is quite the showstopper with its design. A lot of the pieces of Monet jewelry, they kind of mixed up their textures. You'll see pieces that are both textured and non-textured. You'll also see pieces with combined finishes that are both matte and glossy. There's the marking on the back of this beautiful necklace pendant. I hope that you will all join me in next week's content. I will be doing a craft with me, making beautiful earrings. I'll also be choosing some people from the comments for some giveaways of craft supplies so that you can make your own. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to share these items with me. If you haven't already, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on more content about collecting vintage and antique items. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.